We did a whole show and didn't even get to the songs. But don't worry, they're just this way at the Dim Carnival.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dim Carnival. I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And we're talking about Twiztid's Mostasteless album. And we talked a lot about just like the general twistedness of it all. And we talked about, the conversations that are to be had when talking about Twiztid and when talking about this album. But now this week we're going to talk about a little bit more about some individual tracks about the album. But first, what were we just talking about? Oh, yes. So I think it's interesting that nowadays it's not much of a problem for me. But how many years did it take you guys to figure out when Jamie was rapping and when Monoxide was rapping?
I think I got it pretty early on. I would say on $85 an hour, when I first heard that track, I could not tell really a difference between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
But once, I think the next thing I heard after that was this album, and yeah, I got which was which.
Was that ever a problem for you, Steve? Because it was a real problem for me.
I think because I was so confused by ICP that it didn't happen to me a second time. I think I was a lot quicker at picking up Twiztid. But even then, I didn't listen to them on their own albums, maybe I couldn't tell, but on ICP tracks I could.
Mm-hmm.
And especially because things that would really stand out to me, and I know this is getting later, but on the Bizarre albums and Crystal Balls, I think that if I ever had any type of confusion, I think that song would have solidified that for me. I just really love both their verses on Crystal Ball, and I think it was Crystal Ball that made me even want to go back and listen to Twiztid more.
Yeah,
because I remember not really listening to this album much, and then what's the one after this where their faces are cut in half, and it's really kind of a cool picture.
Freak Show.
Yeah,
Freak Show, yeah. And I just remember not liking that album either. And I thought they rapped really good on it, but I think I've said this in past episodes where I just didn't dig the music that much. I think they're awesome, but I just never get behind the sound, at least not on that album. And so yeah, when I hear them in ICP songs, I pay more attention, and I really cling to their verses.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, man. It took me a while to figure out who was who and who was rapping when, because when you first start listening to Twiztid and when you look at Twiztid, it kind of their voices are kind of the opposite of what you would think, maybe.
I could see that. Yeah.
Because Jamie has historically been a heavier guy, and you would think the heavier guy would have the meaner, raspier voice, and the other guy would maybe sound dorkier, but that's not the case at all.
Yeah.
Well, I had a lady friend who was, apologies, Jamie, but was disappointed to find out, having seen images of them, she had hoped that the guy that she thought was more charismatic and funny on the record was the one that she found to be more physically attractive, which was Monoxide.
Whoops.
So,
It might be on Jamie Madrox's solo album, Fat Boy. But I swear he has a line in a song where he says that Monoxide used to be fat too. And so Had we
Well-
seen Fat Monoxide, maybe we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Well, Jamie's looking pretty good these days, man. He's looking slim and trim.
Yeah. So huge bummer. Twiztid a few days ago posted like you should vote thing. Like they regrammed a thing from this cause. It's called I'm Down to Vote. And they said like, our boys and official Twiztid are down to vote. Are you? And a lot of people, like some people were like real cool about it, but a lot of people just like posted MAGA. And it's the bummer. Yeah. So yeah, that goes back to our conversation from last week a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, it's gonna happen, guys. It's gonna be a thing.
Well, all of that aside, there are some tracks on this there are some lyrics on this album that I absolutely love. There are some tracks that I think are spectacular. And I actually I went through and decided, because I wasn't sure if we were going to talk about every track, or I didn't think that we would talk about every track. So I went through and ranked them from favorite to least favorite.
Okay.
I was curious what your guys' favorite songs are. What songs you like, which ones you didn't.
Yeah, well, because last week you talked about how on a given day, Secondhand Smoke might be your favorite song on the album. So I didn't know if you wanted to talk more about that, but you can toss your ranking out if you want.
So in my official ranking, I have Secondhand Smoke as number 2. And the only reason why is because I think it's like more of a serious song, and the songs that I like on this album are the ones that I think are funny or make me feel like energetic release or whatever, like and Secondhand Smoke just is cool or whatever. And so I think that that's why it probably dropped down to number 2 for me, just for the aesthetic of the song. But my favorite track on the album is Hound Dogs.
Yes. It's a very good It's a very good song. Steve, what's your favorite track on the album?
I think Secondhand Smoke, but also I'm right there with Hound Dogs as well, and $85 an hour, of course.
I actually tend to like Die Motherfucking Die better than Secondhand Smoke, but it's just because I really love the cartoony piano sample in it. The dun, 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 like it's such a swaggering song. Like it's so fun. Like it's just and obviously the die motherfucker die. Like it's fun. It's a fun song. Like if I saw Twiztid in concert like now, like if they started playing Die Motherfucking Die, I would be so excited to like see that song live. But yeah, I also think that Rock the Dead is pretty rad, and like obviously this is Rock the Dead is one of the new tracks from the 1999 re-release, and it's like very clearly like in that Jekyll Brothers vein of like this is our rock chorus on like our horrorcore rap song. Like I feel like that's the song that sounds the most like Jekyll Brothers, the ICP album that had just come out at the time. But my favorite track on the album is probably, it's tough to say because like Spin the Bottle's pretty fun, but maybe Hound Dogs, maybe Bury Me Alive. Actually, it's really good.
Yeah, that's a good song. Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of good songs here, guys.
Yeah, I put Rock the Dead and Bury Me Alive as my 3 and 4, and these top 4 is really just depending on my mood. Could go either anyway, you know.
All right.
Woo! Got an ambulance going by here.
Woo! Woo!
Just let it go. They're like not even okay. They're good. They're like they leave them on all the time, man. There's no reason for those sirens to be on in my neighborhood. There's no intersection.
Well, you can't turn it on and off again. Like
You can.
Can't be
It's
like,
just a
oh,
switch.
we're rolling. You know what I mean?
Yes, you should. You can and should turn off the siren when you go into the neighborhood, Bill. They don't do it because they're lazy.
Mm-mm. Well, you heard it here first, guys. Ryan.
Sometimes they turn it off.
First responders are lazy, says Ryan, last name withheld.
If anybody ever known an EMT, you probably won't argue with me.
Damn.
I mean, it's not because of anything that they did. It's a shit job that you don't make a lot of money for. You know, you do it because you have to. It's like a step in a process.
Right.
And yeah, they shit all over those people. So of course they're miserable. That's what I mean. I'm saying it out of sympathy, man. It sucks to be.
Fair enough. I have finally determined who this third person in all of these Twiztid Instagrams and pictures is. Twiztid apparently now has a full-time drummer that plays live drums with them at their shows. And he has his own makeup. He has his own makeup, which has his white face but with X's over the eyes. Kind of like Mushroom Head. But his name is Draven Davidson. Drayven. Draven. But yeah, so Twiztid has 3 members now, but the third one's a drummer. So, cool. All right, well, that's that.
Good night, everybody.
I got a question for both of you guys. Is there a specific thing or things that make you enjoy secondhand smoke much? Did it fuck up again?
No, I thought Steve was starting to answer last time, so I was letting him go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry.
They do. They do say Mr. Bones in this song.
Right. That was one of my notes for this song. He refers to himself as Mr.
Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
It's just, I don't know. It's about pot, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Mm-hmm. I don't even know what this song is about.
I don't either, to be honest. It's just like a cool, I don't know. It's just the way it's put together. It's just like one of those really cool, it just has one of those things that hooks me. And I can't even really specifically say what it is. I won't ever listen to the song again either. So I don't know. It's hard to say. It was just better than other songs that I heard on it.
I like it because it's extremely fun to say. Like, I don't know what any of the words mean. I don't know what they're talking about in this song, but like Monoxide's verse is just, it's like a treat to speak. Mm-hmm. Like, it's so much fun. Every single line and word, it's great. What does it mean? I don't know. Nothing.
Yeah. Very good. Like, a very strong, like, obviously a super strong song to come out of the gate with on their debut. Like he's twisting and turning and delivering so many, like, treats, tasty taste treats. Although one of the first things in the song is, this shit is twisted deeper than that old French braid.
Stickier than jam and jelly face.
Yeah. Then, like, Monoxide comes in and he's, like, doing some aerial acrobatics here. And, it's just, like you said, it's fun. It's a good way to set the table for what they're going to be, the particular flavor they're going to be bringing.
Yeah, I think that there's a quality of that sound that Jeremy mentioned it a couple weeks ago, of it being their work early on being a little bit more lo-fi, and you can hear it in the older songs, but it's there. It feels like them, but it's close enough to the aesthetic that I expect from a Psychopathic Records product at this point. So it was just a cool, like, it was, whoa, here's something new and I like it and it's good. And the En Vogue sample, you gotta love that too.
I also feel like, the lo-fi aesthetic when they started out, and then, like, as their albums would get more and more produced, they continue to really involve a lot of, like, high gain vocals, a lot of distorted vocals, a lot of, like, static sounds, or vinyl, like the warm vinyl sound in the background, or like phonograph sounds. And I think that that's a big part of Twiztid aesthetic, is like everything that you're listening to that we put out is like found footage, or it's a little bit scruffy, or it's a little bit like seen through a particular lens or filter, whereas like ICP is more concerned about making sure the thing horror movie and making sure that the production has like a million different layers to it and that the sound bed is like adding to the song. I think Twiztid is more concerned with like make sure it's a little bit rough.
Wow, there must have been a big car accident. Did you guys hear that?
My take set off an alarm. No, I didn't hear it. I just heard the.
I mean, you heard that, right? That's what it's talking about.
Was there a screech and a crash?
Oh, no, I mean, I didn't hear the crash. That's just the third. That was a cop. Sorry, you were saying that they still go back to that lo-fi sound. Yeah, and the other thing that I kept thinking about listening to this record is, and maybe I'm misremembering, but doesn't vocal doubling become more of like a sound of theirs after this?
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely more of a sound of theirs than ICP for sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I don't recall it, or I didn't hear it too often on this record, and that's why I was thinking that becomes something that they do more often later.
I also feel like the duality of Twiztid is an important part of Twiztid because, like, I think Twiztid is, like, at all costs dedicated to, like, we are equal in this band. Like, we are of similar abilities, we have different personalities, but, like, Twiztid is us. It's me and him in equal measure. Whereas ICP is very much seen as, like, Violent J's brainchild, and, like, sometimes Shaggy just won't be on several tracks. Like, I don't, like, I mean, Twiztid has solo albums, but I don't think there would ever really be, like, I feel like there wouldn't really be a Twiztid track or many Twiztid tracks where it's like, here's just one of us. Like, I feel like that duality is a big part, and I think that the vocal doubling is a further extension of that, of, like, there's always going to be two even when it's one of us.
These guys have solo records, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, Steve, had we talked about them before? Or did either of you?
I've mentioned everyone's. Yeah. I have Chainsmoker from Monoxide, and then Fat Boy from Jamie. They're both really great albums.
Nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, what do you think about it?
Oh, they're fantastic. Jamie's is a little funnier, and makes fun of himself for being fat. Has some great lines about having chunks of MC in his shit bigger than the MC he's battling and stuff. I mean, just like really awesome stuff. And then Monoxide, his album is like grittier and more about like growing up poor. Like stuff that stands out to me that I like, lines that I loved from Monoxide was about saying like, if you can't afford smokes, then you can't buy weed. And so it's like, oh, you're out of smokes and he's out of weed, and like those are like his thing, and it's hard, and it's kind of got like gangster feel, like kind of like stories, running up on people and being ran up on and stuff, and not so much serial killer things or anything like that. It's more like his life kind of a thing.
Just a quick correction for anyone who's looking this stuff up or trying to seek this stuff out. Jamie's first solo album is called Fatso, P-H-A-T-S.
Oh, Fatso. Yeah.
But another crazy note about Fatso, and we dipped into this just a tiny bit last week. Fatso, a Jamie and Madrox solo album in the year 2006, hit number 1 on Heat Seekers on Billboard, number 3 on Top Independent Albums, and number 107 on the Billboard 200.
Wow.
Jamie Madrox solo album in the year 2006.
Holy shit.
Yeah. It's a good album. It's a good album. It really is. They both are. Yeah.
I remember when they announced, because Chainsmoker is Monoxide's first one. So I remember when they announced that Chainsmoker was coming out, and I always liked Jamie better as a personality, and I always liked Monoxide better as a rapper. And that, I mean, historically, I mean, like, currently I like them both in equal measure, but, like, that was how I felt about them. Like, I would rather, like, watch Jamie do stuff, but I would rather listen to Monoxide back in the day. So when they announced that Chainsmoker was coming out, I remember being, like, super excited to hear the album, and then I never did.
That's great.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's probably going to be so good. And then I just never, like, I never saw it in a store anywhere, and I wasn't, like, I didn't care about it enough to, like, mail order it, so.
So that's interesting. I always thought that Monoxide was cooler, but I always preferred Jamie Madrox's lyrics and his delivery, his style.
There was just something about when they said Monoxide was doing an album like that was just Monoxide. Like there was something about that specifically where I was like, oh, I'm really interested to hear what that sounds like, more so than I would have been if they had announced like a Jamie Madrox solo album, because I would have been like, oh, I know what that's gonna be like. Like I know what that's gonna be like, you know?
For sure. When I was at I just had this memory when I was at the gathering of Juggalos, the first one. We were just walking around. I think we were looking at set pieces from old ICP shows that they had all set up on the old stage setups. And then there was all this commotion, and we looked over, and Monoxide Child was walking through the crowd, and so people were like stopping and talking to him or whatever, trying to take pictures and stuff, get autographs, and I got a picture with him, and I was excited to get a picture with anybody, you know. But of the two, I was like, I wish it was Jamie Madrox. But I was still stoked, you know, obviously.
I don't know who I like better between the two.
I mean, these days, probably Jamie, for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think I have reasons why I dislike each one and in their own respected place. And, yeah, I don't know.
I also think that probably part of me being excited about Monoxide doing his solo album is because I would say I definitely listen to Psychopathic Ride's albums way more than I listen to Twiztid albums. And Monoxide is always crushing it on those albums. Also, how interesting is it that Monoxide Child's character in the movies is just an impression of ABK? And I wonder how ABK feels about that.
Yeah, I really want to know if that's intentional, if it's a real thing. We mentioned that whenever we talked about Big Money Hustlers the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Big Stank and Little Poot.
Well, let's talk about Spin the Bottle, maybe. Unless you guys have another thing that you would like to talk about more.
No, I'm down talking about Spin the Bottle.
All right. How do you guys feel about this song in the year 2018?
Man, this used to be one of my favorite songs on the album. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way, man. This time through, I was a little bummed out by it.
Can you elaborate on that?
I guess it's just kind of like what I said last week about that it's really the purpose of the song is just to denigrate women, right? Mm-hmm. It's not about anything that's uplifting or positive or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then at its core, yeah, it's just a bunch of guys on a track talking about disrespecting a woman, like objectifying a woman. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, I don't know, when I was a teen, listening to this, I thought it's a consensual thing and they're all having fun and or whatever, and that's fine. But I don't think that they're trying to send that message. I think that it's just a thinly veiled like track about denigrating women.
Yeah. I think that there is definitely a reading. I think that you are right. I think that you are not incorrect in any way. I think it's interesting to look at the lyrics and to think about the song, and apart from like the sung chorus, there's like no proof that there are women involved in this game of Spin the Bottle. And every single verse is like, I'm this guy, I do this, and this is what I think sex is. Or like, I'm so and so, people call me this, I'm super good at that, and I want to do this thing too. And it's like, it's pretty like clear that none of these people understand what sex is or like how to do it or that they've done it. So it's kind of like a 40-year-old virgin type of thing, of like the bags of sand thing, where it's like you listen to the song on the surface and it's like, oh, they're saying a bunch of funny things about doing it, and this is a song about doing it. But if you actually look at the lyrics and you think about the song, it's like none of these guys know what the fuck they're talking about, and there's no proof that anyone's doing anything to anyone, and it's just a bunch of guys sitting around being like, yeah, I'm gonna play spin the ball, I'm gonna do this and that, and there's no women.
It also made me think of the personal ads from back in, what was it, Ringmaster? Or maybe, I don't even know, where he says he wants the lady to jump off the dresser onto his balls or whatever.
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that they're into, is these wacky things.
Yeah. And I like that Monoxide gets so carried away with his fantasy about what he wants to do, when he's like, I'll twist your nippy nipples off. Damn. Like,
Yeah.
But I like the, and like, again, Ryan, you're absolutely right. But it like the shit they come up with about like what they consider themselves and what people call them and what they do is so fucking out there and creative. Like, it's Polly, baby Polly, with nipple licking love, sporting cowboy boots and a fluorescent glove.
I'm picturing him wearing like one of those rubber latex kitchen gloves.
Dishwashing glove. Yeah.
Dishwashing glove, yeah.
And he's all like, I lassoed you up, I jump on your back, I needs no saddle, I just sit on my nutsack. Like,
yeah, big
me?
set of balls.
Yeah. But there's some other good stuff in here, like Jamie Madrox calls himself the clitoris is a dream. I also like Violet J sporting your panties just to show you I'm a freak. Yeah. But yeah, what you said, like it's not as easy to listen to these days than it was when we were children. when we were definitely adults.
So if you take the power dynamic out of it, if you can do that, and the idea of a group of consenting adults, and I kind of think of it as like it goes hand in hand with hound dogs. So I think of it as that they're like whatever. If you take the power dynamic out of it, so there are people. This lady in the song, the subject of the song, she's down for everything that's going on with everybody except Jamie Madrox. And he feels really left out. He thinks he's because of his body or whatever. She's not attracted to him. And so that kind of message, it softens my argument or whatever, what I made earlier. But so the idea that he could like only convince her to touch his butt, is as much as she's willing to do for him. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yes. Also, I'm trying to leave this nut stain on your bed. Like, Jamie Madrox's priority is like, look, I'm trying to get semen on your mother's bed sheets. Like, this is my goal, my ultimate goal. Also, Steve, would you say "let me holler at your booty hole" is a formative set of words?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's usually one of my faves.
Because you're envisioning of that as someone yelling into a butt.
Right? Yeah, just like spreading the cheeks and yelling at it. Yeah, I love that image. Yeah. For me with this song, listen to it this time through, instead of trying to pay attention to the lyrics, I was kind of more just trying to get over my own personal disdain, I guess, or disgust of sharing someone sexually with a group of people. And I was thinking of it like what Ryan was saying, just like a group of consenting adults. And if everyone was okay, like you said, the power dynamics, so everything was set up right, just me not judging them for doing this. And so it was more of a thing for me to have to step back out of my own comfort level to say, this isn't actually wrong if everyone involved is okay with it.
Right.
And so listening to it, the few times I did, I just kept thinking of it in terms like that, and it be more of like self-reflection and not being so judgmental, I guess. And because it's really easy to just sit back and say, oh, that's not normal, and you can't do that. And that is the years of the people I've got to meet and work with, and being in the Bay Area. It's easy to see how saying that's not normal really affects people's lives and oppresses them. And so yeah, it was funny listening to this song and reflecting on stuff like that, as opposed to just like paying attention to what the lyrics were and if they were degrading or not, or if they were funny. Like I didn't laugh at the booty hole. I didn't laugh at any of it this time because I was just more like contemplating the whole time listening to it. So it was interesting to.
You're like, some people do like to yell into butts, and I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah.
I deserve to be respectful. But I mean, am I wrong to think that there's a difference between this song and She Ain't Afraid?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I think. I've talked about this on multiple episodes of decisions that they make to frame things as being consensual, or or from the woman's point of view or whatever. I'm really not sure what their intention is for doing stuff like that. Like they're making these choices for a reason, and what my hope is that is like I'm reading into a lot of my interpretation of Violent J's relationship with his daughter, and that his values seem to have changed in his later years or whatever as a result of his family. And he talked a little bit about that, I think, on his audiobook of when they started having kids, that it sort of changed what their interests were, their priorities. And so I'm hopeful that we'll start to hear more reflection of that's true, and that we'll start to hear more of a reflection of that in the music as we continue to listen. I'm curious if it does happen, when it will, or whatever.
I think it's going to be I think that we're currently in probably the most interesting time chronologically as we are going through this stuff, because I think that between Checo Brothers and the Wraith, I think a lot of stuff changes. And I'm interested to see how that all plays out. In ICP and in like Psychopathic Records in general. But do you guys want to talk about Hound Dogs at all?
I would love to talk about Hound Dogs.
All right, let's do it. Go for
it. One of the things I remember about Hound Dogs when this song came out is their use of the term juggaho.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, this was when I was still active on the ICP chat room. And juggaho was a term that was used. It was a new term to me, and it was used both to describe both in a positive and a negative way or whatever. And so then it was interesting to me when this album came out, when they sort of said, when he's like, "You ain't down, you're a jug of hoe," then all of a sudden now that's been defined. Like there wasn't any mixed usage of that term from that point on. But I think if there was a point where the community was using it, the fans were using it to mean like what eventually became juggalette.
Interesting.
This is the song where he talks about the MTV Music Awards, right? Or the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, or
no, that's Bury Me Alive.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's one of the reasons why I like it so much.
The intro to Bury Me Alive is spectacular.
Yeah.
Rock and Jock, spring break, summertime, volleyball, halftime performance.
Yeah.
Right
before Coolio. Right before Coolio and right after Mace. Got you right in between.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That's one of the most amazing sentences that Violent J's ever written. That is an incredible statement. And then it goes right into "I don't give a fuck," right? Dead face with the eyes white. Like, oh my god.
Bury Me Alive is incredible.
Yeah, Monoxide kicks that song off. It just kicks it right over the edge of the cliff, man. So good.
And the chorus is so good.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's such a good song.
Yeah. It's incredible. It's an incredible song. It also has an amazing sample of it with the fury of buckshots. God damn, they ruthless.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of a perfect song, guys.
So, I mean, I just want like all of the lyrics. I wish we could just listen to the song right now.
Yeah.
But when in the first verse, Monoxide's first verse, he says, "My shit's for killers with twisted tats on their backs. My shit's for killers who walk around with an axe. My shit's for killers that are screaming, I would rather die than see you motherfuckers doing MTV Live. You could keep the mainstream life and all the hoes. I'm steady cussing in videos for juggalos." Like, oh my god, like, oh, this music's for me. You know, like, he's singing to my soul. Ugh.
Yes.
Yeah, I get so fired up listening to this song.
Yeah.
I loved it too because I felt like, yeah, this is a band I've been listening to since, when did I start? Like 95. So 4 or 5 years I've been listening to them, and they got a bunch of big push from Malenko, but here we are a few albums later, and they're mostly just getting made fun of this whole time, right? Like, people acknowledge them in public, but it's just in a jokey way. So by this time, ICP's in their full-on fuck backlash. Like, we're trying to make our way back to being owned by Psychopathic Records only, you know, get away from these record labels now. And say, like, yeah, the underground is where we started. This is all we need. We don't need to go big or whatever. So I was into it. I was like, yeah, keep this shit, keep it a secret, you know? Keep it a secret to the world and watch the posse increase.
If we don't have anything else to say about Bury Me Alive, we can hop back to Hound Dog.
I was going to point that out.
This is where Juffalo comes from.
Yes.
Definitely.
Jamie's performance in all of those interludes.
Yeah.
Peak. Perfect. Gold star. Awesome.
It's me, Jenny.
I didn't even go to school. He's like, I don't know you. He's like, I don't know you, fat B. She's like, it's me, Jenny. I just think, like, her like heart honest reaction or whatever, like, not even fazed by him screaming at her or whatever.
Also the I ain't even go to school, and then coming back with the no, I'm saying if you were to sit there, like,
oh my god,
that's
Blaze.
like, it's such a perfect like when someone's like full of shit, like, no, what I mean is, like, you know, like, without missing a beat, you know.
Okay, but this is another. So we a couple weeks ago I talked about how ICP when we were talking to Jeremy about how when they were bringing Twiztid on, they were like very intentional with everything and like putting in a lot of effort to make sure that it succeeded. And I feel like this song is like a little bit of a microcosm of that with Blaze You Dead Homie. And that they're like, I didn't know who Blaze was before this. This is my first introduction to him. And they started off with talking about how the groupies want to have sex with him, even though they have no idea who he is, because he just happens to be part of the group. And I think that's genius, because it puts you like, oh, okay, this is a guy that rolls with them, and here he is. He's part of the group now, or whatever. You immediately accept him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's extremely good that the first time Blaze You Dead Homie appears on a Psychopathic Records release or any release involving this group of people, his first line is, y'all don't even know who the fuck I am.
Right. But the ladies are still like, who's his friend?
Right. Yeah. And he also manages to get his entire backstory into his verse.
And that's it. And I don't know too. Actually, I don't know. I never listened too much to Blaze You Dead Homie, so I don't know that much about him. But I guess, like, just from this verse alone, he's been dead for 11 years, and he's got this like kind of old 11-year ago style, so like early 90s style, and he's still rocking his Raiders cap and whatever. And I think that's great. Like, his aesthetic and his style, it fits in real nicely.
And the clock.
Yeah. Yeah, the Flavor Flav clock.
Yeah.
So he wears Lokes, which is pretty good. Yeah, I honestly think that Blaze You Dead Homie is the highest concept, like, gimmick that any of the Psychopathic family has ever had. Like, it's pretty high concept. It's a gangbanger who was murdered in 1989. So he still is dressed like a gangbanger in 1989, and he's been resurrected. And but he's like basically like the Captain America of hip hop. It's like, that's pretty high concept, guys. Like, it's not like Boondocks where it's like, I'm ICP, but I got a cowboy hat on.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure that's like diminutive for, like, I'm sure Boondocks is great, but.
It always reminded me, what was the name of the JCW champion, Dead Alive?
Evil Dead.
Evil Dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Blaze always reminded me of.
Yeah. He's like the fresher version of Evil Dead, where he still uses his powers of speech and whatnot.
Evil Dead.
So the first note that I wrote about Hound Dogs was my feeling that I think these guys this song is it's them being a little bit big for their britches. Like, I don't know what they're, I don't know, Violent J has said that he had sex with like thousands of women before he was like 22 or something. But I don't know. I just, I don't take it, literal or whatever that, they're having these swarms of groupies or whatever that they're having to shoo away.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're just more like making fun of themselves. But Violent J's verse, I just every single line I think is completely outstanding.
Yeah, guys, there's 6 verses in this song.
Well, it's a Dark Lotus track, man, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
gotta get all these guys in here.
Yeah, first, like, I mean, like, Echo Side is the first quote unquote Dark Lotus track, but this is the first Dark Lotus track with like five or more members. So. I like the description of the overall track on Genius, where it says, "Here, Dark Lotus takes the time to talk about groupies."
Takes the time.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Oh, well, we've got you here.
We're going to talk about something we really love.
So I guess ultimately this song is about not groupies, but just like bandwagon fans, right? I mean, it starts off with talking about sex and stuff, so like you're thinking groupies, but I think that they're actually talking about a larger group of people that there are different subsets of, because like in Violent J's last verse, he's talking about people that are coming up and asking them for autographs but aren't familiar with the older records because they're like not real fans or whatever.
Yeah.
My dog just walked out here. Hi, Sims.
Hi, doggy.
Sound like someone was typing.
Yeah, it did. Look, bottom line, y'all's get off their balls. Psychopathic records are geniuses, get off their penises. It has both of that on this album. It's both of those lines on this album.
I also like when I think that Jamie's got some pretty fun lines, and I like when he says, "Take another picture and I'll break your jaw. I got an 80-pound punch for each and every one of y'all."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's a good song. What's the dividing line between the content of this song and the content of Spin the Bottle?
I guess it's just that fact that it's not specifically. If it was just a song about groupies, then I probably wouldn't feel, the same. I wouldn't feel similarly about it. But I think it's just them actually talking about their celebrity status that they've achieved, and that it's not whatever. Yeah.
The last thing I want to kind of point out is we talked about how Jamie Madrox does refer to himself as Mr. Bones on this album, but in What the Fuck, Jamie Madrox also says, "Hey yo, fuck everybody that ain't down with us. Superstars Incorporated label us infamous." So that goes back to their original band name, Infamous Superstars Incorporated, or International Superstars Incorporated. Either way. ISI. Bad name.
Guys, one thing we haven't talked about is the intro.
Mm-hmm. Twiztid. That's I literally cannot think about this album without thinking about that pitch shifted voice going Twiztid. It's
That's
both
really fun.
Both terrible and great.
I love it. I think that's that's an intro that I listen to. I don't skip that one.
Yeah, for sure, because it's got that cool like. So this is gonna sound so stupid. Between the album cover and the intro, what the intro invokes to my mind is like what like the Lobo Christmas special would sound like.
Yes,
That's brilliant.
Because there's a Lobo. I don't, for people who don't know, Lobo, the comic book character who was around in the 90s and was popular because he was twisted. He was like, oh, what if a comic book character fucked? Like it was basically the concept of Lobo. Like there's a Lobo Christmas special where he kills Santa Claus,
right.
because the Easter Bunny hires him to or something.
Yeah.
So like to me that's what, because there's this piano and this choir that sounds like Christmas carolers kind of, and then there's like screaming and gunshots and chainsaws and people yelling, and just to me it's like, oh, this is probably what the Lobo Christmas issue sounds like.
I have
That's a good
the
take,
first
man.
appearance of Lobo.
Oh hell yeah!
It was in an
Legion?
Action comic, or maybe no, it was either, I thought it was in Action Comics. Like he's kicking Superman's ass.
Oh,
He
cool.
looks different. Obviously,
I thought
he's
that
kind
the
of
first-
wearing the same clothes.
I thought the first issue of Lobo was when he was in the purple and orange suit and he was like driving like his like space motorcycle forward with a lady like strapped to it.
No, I'm pretty sure it's a Superman comic. And he's got Superman by the cape and he's swinging him around into like a machine or something.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And he's like skinny. He's wearing that the purple and I think purple and orange suit.
Yeah.
And he's all skinny, so he's not like the motorcycle badass yet. I think he has a motorcycle in the comic itself, but yeah, it's been a long time since I looked at it.
Hey, you know what? Fair enough, man.
But it was something that, like, because we had me and my dad were collecting comics together when I was in high school, and because we had gotten the Lobo Christmas special and we loved it and thought it was hilarious, and my dad loved Superman, we went to a comic convention and found it for pretty cheap.
Nice.
Yeah. I think at the Cow Palace.
Oh, Lobo.
Good times.
Wow, a comic convention at the Cow Palace? That was probably pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of tracks on here, guys, that we haven't talked about. And so I was wondering, to me, I feel a pretty strong delineation and quality. And there's just a group of tracks that kind of just fall to the side because to me they just seem like not as inspiring or not as interesting. Not so much that they're bad, just that they just don't mean anything special to me. And it kind of starts with, well, how does it feel? What the fuck? Meat Cleaver. They're all these kind of like middle of the road kind of tracks to me. I don't know, that just seem like there's nothing really special about them.
Yeah, like I don't know anything about Blink. Like I don't know anything about that track.
Blink actually has a cool concept. So Blink is all each line each line starts with them either opening or closing their eyes and things that they see or don't see or visions that they have or whatever. That's the kind of like running part.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at I know this song. I wouldn't know it to look at the title Blink, but yeah, like I know the chorus and I know the.
And I liked First Day Out. I listened to it a lot more. I listened to it several times in preparation for talking about it, and I like it a lot more than I did initially. It's grown on me this round of listening.
Yeah, like I would say, like for me, like the indispensable tracks are like the first 4 to 5 tracks, like Secondhand Smoke, Die Motherfucker Die, Rock the Dead, indispensable. And then I would say like there's like a bunch of stuff in the middle, and then like $85 an hour, obviously, but you can listen to that other places. So I think that's I don't know how I like, because like 85. If you're only going to listen to $85 an hour on Most Tasteless, it's obviously indispensable. But like, since it's available so many other places, I feel like it's not really necessary on this album. I don't know.
Right.
Like,
No, I agree. It doesn't.
and then like Bury Me Alive and Hound Dogs, and like maybe What the Fuck, but like Bury Me Alive and Hound Dogs. So like, there's like a whole bunch of the middle of the album where it's like, whatever. But like, there's a handful of albums there's a handful of tracks at the beginning and near the end where it's like, okay, you have to know these tracks. And then like even like Renditions of Reality, the closer, it's like I don't know that song.
Yeah, it's not. So that was I was gonna say it's almost like it almost feels like the kind of thoughtful outro song that you would get from an ICP track. I don't know if that's something that they intended to do, because they did it before it was Twiztid, right? They did it as a House of Crazies.
Yeah. Yeah, but like to me, the album ends with Hound Dogs.
I don't mind Renditions of Reality. I thought it's an interesting song. I like that. That's one of the things that I was gonna say about Jamie Madrox, is that his lyrics are like a little bit more spacey or whatever. He's usually talking about space or time or whatever. Just like a little bit more trippy, I guess. And so Renditions is like, it's an interesting song where they're being a little bit reflective. He does use the N-word. Again. Gotta use the N-word on the last track,
They sure use it.
But I wasn't mad about that being that, that's like that's a feeling that you're used to wrap up an album, let you know that you're coming to an end.
Yeah, for sure. Here we go. This is it. Wait, the last thing I want to talk about on this album is it only on the original release, or do both versions have the hidden track with Violent J?
Yeah, I don't recall that my version had it. And actually it doesn't, because I rip my tracks onto my, that's what I'm listening to, is the rip tracks that I have, and it doesn't have the telephone number or whatever.
Yeah.
The secret track. Yeah, I think that was only on the original.
Interesting. Steve, did you hear that?
Mm-mm.
The hidden track?
No.
Where Violent J just tells this long story, and he keeps stressing particular numbers in the story, so that if you like just write down all the numbers he emphasizes, then you get the hotline number to call.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't need it. It's not important.
I wonder what the hotline number did.
Well, you've called it, right, Ryan?
No, it was, I'm sure, not the same number. Different
number.
number.
Oh, it's a different number every time?
I think so. I have no idea.
Okay.
I haven't listened to it, so I don't know what the number is. I don't remember what the other number is.
Well, because they keep giving like the secret number on a lot of their releases, like the saying you've got your finger in your mate's bum, like that. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. It just wasn't my assumption that it would always be the same number, because why would you need to make another secret track if it was always the same number?
Well, because some people don't hear all the albums. That was my understanding, is like they have a secret number, and you have to find the hidden tracks that have the secret number, and like maybe you can't afford to buy all the releases, or maybe you couldn't afford to buy that one, or maybe you didn't buy that one, or maybe you missed that one. So like that makes more sense to me than, I mean, it doesn't make sense in 2018 where you can just fucking look it up, but like back then it makes more sense to me to have like one number that's a secret, that like if you happen to figure out the number from one of the releases where they give you the number, then like, hey, every release, like, hey, sometimes we're going to have a secret phone number, but let's make it a different phone number every time. Like, that doesn't make as much sense to me. I could be wrong.
I mean, I was just thinking that they didn't keep it up or whatever, that's a service that you just like pay for it and they give you a number or something, I don't know how any of that works.
Yeah, that was, I think that was my assumption too, where like you have a promotion, so you pay to have an extra line for a while, and then the promotion runs its course, and then you stop paying for that line, and then when you do a new one, that was kind of how I assumed it would be. I didn't think it'd be like the Hulk Hogan line that stayed on forever because everyone wanted to call and talk to Hulk Hogan.
Right, for sure. There is a Okay. Okay. There's a post on FagoLovers.net from 2012 that claims the ICP hotline has been going strong for 20 years, and the hotline will be updated on the regular to keep you in on the loop on what's happening with them. The number is 714-647-2465. That was in 2012 where they talk about it. Yeah, that appears to be the one hotline number.
That blew my theory.
Yeah. But guys, I know we had this in Salinas for a couple years, and I don't know if Steve, you even heard about it. Ryan, I don't know if they had something similar, but like when I was in, I want to say like maybe the last year or so of grade school, and maybe like the first year or so that I was in junior high, our local telephone company just randomly was like, hey, we're going to have a toll-free number that you can call, and there's going to be like entertainment on it. So like you could call the number, and then like it was like, for a joke, press this number or call this number. I think there was like a bunch of different numbers because some people didn't have touch. Like my family had a rotary phone, so like I think it was like, I don't think it was like interactive necessarily, but I think that there were like different numbers you can call, and like one number you could call and like hear like a joke, and like one number you could call and like there was like a little story, and one number you could call, and I think it was like an interactive adventure that had like 3 different choices in it. But like, Steve, do you remember that?
No.
Ryan, did they have anything like that in your area?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was wild. It was just like a local number that you would call, and they would like tell you a joke or give you a riddle or tell you like what was on TV or whatever. Like it was just like this little thing that only lasted a couple of years, but crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, but I definitely wanted to call Hulk Hogan. I did call the WWE one once, and I was super disappointed, man, and it wasn't even a thing. Some shitty recording.
There was a lot of hotlines that I wanted to call back in the day, but like I knew that no one would be giving me money for that, and that if I called it on my own, people would be upset about like $7 or $8 on the phone bill.
Oh yeah, no, I had to like do specific chores to earn the ability to call this number and listen for like 2 minutes.
Oh, nice.
That's all I got.
All right, guys, let's get some final thoughts on Mostasteless.
Loved it. This is the only Twiztid record I've ever listened to.
Well, looking forward to our coming years on this podcast. Steve, you didn't like it.
I mean, it's not fair to say I didn't like it. I mean, it's definitely got some great tracks on it. It just makes me uncomfortable with all the N-words on it, and it's just not something necessary for me to pull up to want to listen to, especially since I have Twiztid tracks that and albums that I genuinely enjoy. So, yeah.
All right, guys. So next week, your official assignments: Psychopathics from Outer Space for next week, Psychopathic Rider's Dumpin' for the following week, and then watch Big Money Hustlers at some point, because that's going to be in 2 weeks. And boy, there's a lot of exciting stuff, guys. This is just like, we're entering the period of just nonstop bangers here.
Ugh.
What's funny is I've never actually listened to either of those albums.
Nice.
Wow.
I don't have access. I never had access.
Well, I am very excited for you to hear the first track off of Dumpin', because it's possible there has never been a song that has banged that hard.
That song hits pretty hard, man. That's a good one. I prefer Psychopathics from Outer Space from the two, but actually, well, that's what I remember. We'll see what happens.
And here is something interesting to know about. Psychopathic Ridas has a Bandcamp site, psychopathicriders.bandcamp.com, where you can get their first 2 albums, Dumpin' and Ridin' Dirty, for free downloads of these albums. So, because
go get those.
They're just bootleg albums where they take entire tracks and illegally rap over them, so they're not allowed to charge money for them. But yeah, go check this out. But thanks to everybody for listening, and until next week, I'm Bill.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Ryan.
And make sure that you don't get twisted.